Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ursula. I'm an indie author of historical fiction. I've been an avid reader since the age of 3, and right now I'm in the process of converting a lot of blog posts I wrote about Dante, his world, and the Divine Comedy over the course of this year into vlogs, because you can obviously get a bigger audience that way, and not everyone who's seen these vlogs has read my blog and vice versa. And also, I'm not quite done with my Dantean post this year. I also have a few more planned for the remainder of the year. I'll devote every October to horror movies on my blog and Halloween-themed excerpts for my book. So anyway, this post is called Why Everyone Should Read the Divine Comedy. So beginning on the 8th of September, Baylor Honors College, in conjunction with 5 other colleges, kicked off 100 Days of Dante. And by the way, it's still not too late to sign up for it. You just have to play a little bit of catch-up. Today we're on canto number 20. The objective is to read one canto on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays until finishing on the 17th of April, which is the Catholic and Protestant Easter. The Orthodox Easter is 1 week later next year. Though I just reread the Commedia earlier this year in the Mark Musa translation, I'm really excited to begin all over again. And unfortunately, I kind of misunderstood the objective of the 100 Days of Dante initially, because they were calling it, 100 days, and there are 100 cantos. I assumed we had to read one canto a day over a course of 100 days, but obviously from the 8th of September until Easter is a lot more than 100 days. They're just reading the cantos over the course of 100 days total within a time span that's longer than 100 days. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but I've got it figured out now, and I'm back on track with where everyone else is. And they're also doing lectures. They'll send it out to your email to go along with each canto, and every 2 weeks on Wednesday evenings they're doing like a Zoom call talking about some questions for the cantos we've been reading that week, or those past 2 weeks, and I'm splitting into a small study and discussion group. So it's a lot of fun. You can just play along with yourself, or like read with like some friends, or like relatives, or just do like a bigger reading group in your area, or just like play along with like everyone worldwide and just like read it all by yourself. So I got the much lauded Derling Martinez translation of Inferno recently. I was really happy to find it for a decent price, because I've heard so many wonderful things about it, and it's currently considered the gold standard by many Dante scholars. And it's also dual language and has excellent essays and notes. Though I'm really like annoyed that less than 24 hours after I ordered it, the price dropped by $5 to $9.95, and I was unable to be refunded despite it not having shipped yet. And I also talked to 2 different people from Amazon. The best they said was, oh, just cancel your order and then reorder it, but the price could go up by that time, so that's kind of ridiculous. But at least I did get it for a pretty decent price, considering it has since jumped up again. I'm keeping an eagle eye on the price of Purgatorio and Paradiso. They're extraordinarily, unacceptably, ridiculously high. As the last time I checked yesterday, they were $22 and $33, which is pretty ridiculous. It's not like these are, kid leather bound and gold leaf and have giant illustrations or something like that. They're just regular, textbooks of a, I guess, 6x9 trim. Nothing out of the ordinary about them, except that they're more scholarly than a lot of translations due to all the academic notes and essays. But, if they sink to $15 or lower, I'm jumping on them. And of course, I'm continuing to regularly go to the local used bookstore. Maybe I'll find some good other translations there, maybe even the Derling Martinez. And if they do remain high by the time we get to the other 2 canticles, I'm planning to finish the reading with the Alan Mandelbaum translation, because that's another edition I'm really eager to read for myself, because I really like what I've heard of it so far. And they do have it for free on the Columbia Dante Project website, but there's nothing that quite compares to reading a book in your hands, or at least like on an e-reader. Just reading it on a computer screen is, doesn't really compare to that experience for many different reasons. So why should everyone, regardless of religion or personal background, read the Divine Comedy? 1, it's one of the greatest works of literature ever written. It's right up there with the collected complete works of Shakespeare, the Decameron, the Mahabharata, the Odyssey, the Iliad, the Tale of Genji, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the Aeneid, Don Quixote, and any other work of classic world literature. And when I say classic world literature, I personally refer to, really literally world literature, because a lot of people only mean like European and North American when they say world literature. Obviously, it's a subject for a completely other post, but I personally do include a lot of, like Asian literature as well as European and North American. And by the way, I am looking to very eager to get more into Latin American literature, possibly even like reading some of it in Spanish to refresh my knowledge of the language. So if you do know some really good books written or set in South America or like Central America or Spain, please let me know. I'm really eager to like start filling up that big gap in my reading. Number 2, you can read it 100 times and still discover something new each time. This isn't a one and done book. There are so many delicious layers and nuances, you can't discern and digest them all with a single reading. Number 3, it's a priceless compendium of medieval history, politics, and religion, as well as classical antiquity. There are also a lot of astronomical, geographical, and mathematical references and calculations, some of which even dedicated Dante scholars still don't fully understand or even like know at all. They just know they're there, but not like the details or why Dante intended them. This truly was a continuation of Dante's discontinued Encyclopedia Il Convivio, which I also wrote a blog post about, and I'm planning a future vlog based on that post as well. Without Dante serving as the historian of record for many of these people, particularly the women, even hardcore medieval history scholars wouldn't know or care about them. And I do also have a post on women in Divine Comedy. I'm looking forward to making that into a vlog as soon as I'm able to install iMovie on my computer, because it would really be enhanced by inserting, pictures and paintings of the women I'm discussing. Number 4, despite being over 700 years old, it still feels so modern and relevant, not like a book tied entirely to the Middle Ages. Yes, there are many other great works of medieval literature with forward-thinking characters, like, for example, the awesome Wife of Bath in the Canterbury Tales and many of the women in my beloved Decameron. However, they ultimately belong to the world in which they were created, no matter how modern and progressive they or even radical they feel in some ways, because ultimately they're products of the Middle Ages. They're like radical and progressive within those parameters, and obviously Dante was a product of his own time too. You cannot entirely divorce him from that, but his works just feels kind of like modern thinking. You can apply it to any age. It's not only like a book about living in the Middle Ages. Number 5, the teacher and student relationship between Dante and Virgil is a joy to read and watch developing. It's just so beautiful and moving and touching. Like, Virgil is a constant source of protection and comfort and emotional support when Dante is afraid or overwhelmed by his emotions. He's truly like a best friend or a surrogate father figure by the end, and Dante bursts into tears when he realizes Virgil is gone. He even uses the word mama when he's talking about how he's turning to Virgil for help and support, like a little boy that runs to his mama for support when he's scared and afraid. Number 6, the use of language is nothing short of genius. Terza rima is so complex, even in a language with a plethora of rhyming words. Dante had to think so many steps ahead to ensure he stuck to that rhyme scheme through 14,233 lines and find the right words to end each line on. There are also times when he uses repetition of certain letters to evoke things like running water and dried, snarling tree branches, which is another reason I strongly urge everyone to read the Divine Comedy in Italian, even not necessarily if you know it, just to like look at the Italian side in a dual language translation or listen to someone reading it, because there's just no comparison for like reading a book in translation and comparing it against the original, because there are so many things that are missed, particularly like use of sound in certain phrases that don't really translate well at all. So I do also have another blog post I've written about why everyone should read the Commedia in Italian, and that's another thing I will be turning into a vlog in the future sometime. Number 7, the poetry gets more and more beautiful as the work wears on. Yes, many people do find it more difficult to comprehend or care about, as theology comes more and more to the forefront, even if they might be Catholic themselves, because it is pretty, dense and complex and hard to understand. But don't let that scare you away from the beautiful language. This is one of the many reasons, as I was just mentioning, you should read the Commedia in Italian, even if you don't have fluency. Number 8, who hasn't had an unrequited love like Dante had for Beatrice? Almost everyone can relate to that feeling of longing and grieving for a lost love. Number 9, there are lots of funny moments to lighten the intense mood, like, for example, when Pope Nicholas III mistakes Dante for the evil Pope Boniface VIII and expresses surprise he's there earlier, when Dante throws shade at Virgil for like a previous mistake or failure he had. Oh, master, you overcame all opposition except that one time those tough demons came to meet us at the gates of Dis, and lots of other, funny moments sprinkled throughout. Number 10, Though most of the souls Dante encounters are men, he also meets a number of women, and they're no shrinking violets. He gives them moral agency to tell their own stories, and contrary to the prevailing attitudes of his day, sympathies lie with victims of domestic violence, not their abusers. And the women, not all the women who have been domestic violence victims in the Commedia were, murdered or beaten by their husbands, or some of them were abused in other ways, like, for example, Picarda Donati being kidnapped from her convent by her evil brother Corso and forced to marry someone, and another woman, Gisola Bella, who was forced into prostitution and pimped by her own brother. But these are all, different kinds and forms of domestic abuse, and Dante's sympathies are always steadfastly with the women, not the men who abuse them in various ways. You also have to love how he flips the trope of a damsel in distress by being rescued by a man. Beatrice is the one who saves him, and she goes to save him after a conference with St. Lucia and the Virgin Mary. Number 11. Many of the lessons Dante learns along the way can easily apply to every reader. Yes, he primarily intended it as a story of his redemption and spiritual awakening, but you can find parallels to things in your own faith or life if you don't share his exact beliefs. It's just like how Shakespeare's stories translate so well to other eras, like, for example, the Akira Kurosawa's brilliant films, Ron and Throne of Blood. If you haven't seen them, by the way, I highly recommend them. Ron is based on King Lear, and Throne of Blood is based on Macbeth. They just work so well translated to samurai era Japan. I also love Japanese history, culture, language, and literature. Someday I'm hoping to write some historical novels set in Japan. Number 12. It's one of those works of literature which has massively influenced society. So many books, plays, poems, films, TV shows, video games, songs, musical compositions, and works of art directly reference it, were inspired by it, and or depict events from it. And I do also have several blog posts actually on illustrations and artwork of the Divine Comedy. I'm also planning a future blog after October ends about artwork depicting Dante and Beatrice, so look forward to that if you read my blog, and I'll also turn that into vlogs as well once I have the capability to actually finally insert images into my vlogs. And my own saga, Journey Through a Dark Forest, and each of its 4 volumes got their titles from the famous opening lines in the Lawrence Binion translation. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of those books to show you. I haven't yet ordered them for myself, but they are available in paperback if you're interested. I do encourage you to check out my books and give them reviews if you're so inclined, if you like historical fiction, because I would really appreciate more readers and reviews. Number 13. It's jam-packed with drama, beauty, intensity, power, and emotion. And it's just, there aren't really enough words to describe how beautiful it is. You just have to read the thing for yourself and discover it, just how beautiful firsthand. Number 14. Dante's views on religious minorities and gay men are light years ahead of those of most of his contemporaries. And those are also blog posts I will be turning into vlogs as soon as I'm able to install iMovie and finally have fancier vlogs in just QuickTime. And finally, number 15. Many times throughout life, we find ourselves lost in a dark forest, no idea how we got there or lost the way so badly, overwhelmed by hopelessness and despairing of ever escaping. And just like Dante, sometimes we have to sink to the lowest, saddest, most hopeless point possible before we can begin slowly rising up to happier, more hopeful, more beautiful places and get back on track with our life. And that's also basically the gist of the final line of my book, Journey Through a Dark Forest, talking about Dante's exact journey like that. His journey has also, sinking and then getting higher up gradually, has also been referenced or strongly a thematic, influence in several of my other books, as I described in previous blogs. And we also cannot do this alone. We need our own Virgil and Beatrice to help and guide us. And don't forget to find a translation that works for you. Read it carefully instead of mindlessly powering through, as I unfortunately did the first time I read it, and take advantage of extra textual sources. There are so many wonderful things out there, a lot more than were available when I was reading it in 2003 and 2004. So if you have watched all the way through this vlog, thank you very much. I truly do appreciate all my viewers and people who leave positive comments. Finally, I feel like I'm growing in my confidence speaking to the camera, and I'm speaking by myself. So hopefully I will see you guys again on Sunday, possibly also doing turning one of my Dantean blogs into a vlog. So I'm really grateful for all my viewers. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.